I picked up quite a few books this time. I spent about $15 for this whole bag. The first book I picked up is a classic. It's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This particular edition also includes other stories. I didn't realize just how short The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde actually is. It's only 78 pages, and the rest of the book is occupied by other short stories. The next book is pretty interesting. It's about this Jewish girl who's sick of hearing her grandfather's stories about the extreme conditions of the Holocaust. The stories bore her, and she doesn't want to remember the past. But one evening, she's transported back in time to a Jewish village in Poland in the 1940s. But why is she there, and who is this Chaya that everyone seems to think she is? Soon, Hannah starts to forget everything but her new life as Chaya. And the Nazi soldiers take Chaya and her family away to a death camp, a place of unspeakable horrors. If she does survive, Hannah knows she will never again have to ask why we must remember, for she herself will never forget. Staying on the same theme, the next book I picked up is Moz, a graphic novel about the Holocaust. I picked up only the first one because that's all that was available, but I'll keep an eye out for the second one. I've been interested in this book for a while. I've heard a lot about it, and also it's on like every banned book list that I ever see. This is like the #1 banned book, and I can't wait to read this one this year. I'm definitely going to add it to my to-be-read list. The next book I picked up is about the story of 3 unlikely thieves. One is an 11-year-old Lucius priest and 2 of his family's retainers, Boone Hagenbeck and Ned the coachman. In 1905, these 3 set out from Mississippi for Memphis in a motor car stolen from Lucius' grandfather. They're ill-equipped for the journey itself, and they are less prepared for the fast life of Memphis. The next book I picked up is Maya Angelou's The Heart of a Woman. This is actually the 4th volume of her autobiography. I didn't know that. There's actually a total of 7, and I just picked up this book thinking it was just one book. I didn't know that it was a part of a series. But either way, I'm still going to read this, and I'll probably pick up the other books along the way as we go on here. The next book I picked up is another book by Rudyard Kipling. I've picked up like a total of 3 books now by Rudyard Kipling. I have him, and I have Captain Courageous, and now this will be my 3rd book. This is The Jungle Books by Rudyard Kipling. This particular edition combines the stories and poems from The Jungle Book and the second Jungle Book, published in 1894 and 1895, respectively. It tells the story of Mowgli, a young woodcutter's son taken in by a group of animals. The next book I picked up is The Little Prince. I've read this book as a child and I've watched the movie several times, but I've actually never had a physical copy of the book, so I'm glad to be adding this to my collection. The next book I picked up is The Leadership Secrets of Ael the Hun. I've heard mixed reviews about it, but it's such a short book, it's only 110 pages, so I decided to pick it up anyway and see what it's all about. This book is supposed to reveal the leadership secrets of Ael the Hun, the man who centuries ago shaped an aimless band of mercenary tribal nomads into the undisputed rulers of the ancient world, and who today offers us timeless lessons in wind-directed, take-charge management. The next book I picked up is Dante The Inferno. I have about 2 or 3 copies of this book now, but I've decided to pick this particular one up because of the illustrations. I have a habit of picking up either the illustrated versions of books or the graphic novel versions of books. I've always loved that. So whenever I can find illustrated editions or graphic novels, like for example, I just recently found The Odyssey as a graphic novel. I'm for sure going to be picking that one up. And 1984, and there's so many other stories, but whenever there's illustrations or graphic novels, I'm definitely picking it up. The next book I picked up is Life After Google, The Fall of Big Data and the Rise of the Blockchain Economy. In this book, it argues that we are transitioning away from a centralized internet dominated by companies like Google, where they collect vast amounts of user data, and moving towards a future where blockchain technology empowers individuals with greater control over their information and finances, essentially creating a decentralized cryptocosm with increased privacy and security. The next book I picked up is The Swindling of America, How Failure of Our Politics Undermines Our Prosperity. This book critiques policies that have led to growing inequality and the decline of the middle class. It argues that right-wing economic policies favoring the wealthy and corporations have undermined America's prosperity. It calls for progressive reforms like fairer taxes, stronger labor protections, and more public investment to restore economic fairness. The next book I picked up is Ancestors, 900 Years in the Life of a Chinese Family. This book is a memoir and family history that traces the story of the author's ancestors over 9 centuries. It focuses on the Qing family, beginning in the 11th century during the Song dynasty. The book weaves together personal family stories with historical events, exploring themes of cultural heritage, social changes, and the resilience of a Chinese family across generations. Through this narrative, Qing reflects on the transformations in Chinese society, offering a unique perspective on China's history through the lens of one family's experience. The next book I picked up is Stranger at Home by Mrs. Sherwood. It explores the themes of youthful melancholy, the consequences of stubbornness and vanity, and the complex relationship between parent and child, often focusing on the alienation a young person might feel within their own family home. The next book I picked up is Japan: An Interpretation, and this was published in 1904. The particular copy I have is actually from 1907, and this text seeks to delve into the complexities and intricacies of Japanese culture, focusing on themes of religion, family, ancestor worship, and the psychological dimensions of Japanese life through a Western lens. The next book I picked up I already have a copy of, but decided to get it again. This is To Kill a Mockingbird. It's a classic. It's on like every reading list. I always see it. It is both a young girl's coming-of-age story and a darker drama about the roots and consequences of racism and prejudice, probing how good and evil can coexist within a single community or individual. The next book I picked up is The Little Book of Life. It's a collection of the author's thoughts and reflections on various aspects of life, including love, freedom, pain, and joy. I also have a book by this author that's called The Prophet, and I got that maybe a couple of months ago. I always hear people quoting from this book, and I always see it referenced in other books, so I decided to finally pick it up and add it to my collection. The next book I picked up is The Yearling, and I absolutely hated this book as a child. I specifically hated the fact that he had to kill the deer, and I've heard of this book so many times, and I decided to get it so I can read it again, because maybe I'll have a different perspective and more insights on this than I did back then, because when I read it originally, I was just so horrified that he had to kill the deer that I couldn't get past it. I totally didn't take anything away from it other than the fact that the deer was killed. Nevertheless, thanks for watching. More